WFM 91.7.
Good afternoon and welcome to another episode in the series of 16 Days of Activism on Violence Against Women. 16 Days of Activism on Violence Against Women. So you're probably wondering what this is about. And simply put, it is the second day of the 16 Days of Activism against gender-based violence. And we're running a 16-day series commemorating the 16 days. Today is the second day. And the 16 Days of Activism against gender-based violence is an international campaign that began yesterday, Friday, 25th November, the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. That was yesterday. And this campaign, 16 Days of Activism Against Gender-Based Violence, runs until 10th December, the Human Rights Day. The aim of this is to end violence against women and girls in all forms. Now, during the 16 days, Women Radio will be reviewing the achievements of some organizations and their strategies in prevention and elimination of violence against women and girls. My name is Sumto Titilayo Ajamma. Good afternoon once again. Today, on 16 Days of Activism Against Gender-Based Violence, the series, my guest is Chioma Osakwe, Program Officer, Hacey Health Initiative. We're still talking about the 16 Days of Activism on Violence Against Women. Hello, Chioma. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us.
Hello. Good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. Yes, it's a good thing that we're having you on the conversation today because, truth be told, this is a conversation that needs to be had. So I'm glad you're here. First and foremost, tell us about the journey so far that your organization has, as it comes to combating violence against women. What has the journey been so far?
Thank you. It's been a long journey. I think for everyone working in this space, we've come a long way, right? We know where we're coming from and what the status quo used to be and what it is now. I would say that, significant progress has been made regarding protecting the rights of women and girls. Are we there yet? No, we're not, but we continue to push and, make progress, right? So we have existing, policies and laws that advocate for women and girls. Implementation of these laws, however, is still in question. But there are laws. They're not necessarily perfect, but they exist. We have workplaces now with policies that protect the rights of women and girls. We have a lot of processes currently ongoing. So it's been a long journey. We will continue to have this conversation and have these discussions until we achieve, what we want to achieve, right? And that's basically ending gender-based violence.
Mm-hmm. All right. I'm glad we're on the same page about that. Thank you again, Chioma. Now, know that you can contribute on the program. You can call in to 07000 917 917. You can call in to 07000 917 917. You can also share your thoughts. Send a text or a WhatsApp message to 0703 175 6537. If you're not tuned in and you would like to tune in or you're listening online from anywhere, you can do that by going on the website, www.wfm917.com. www.wfm917.com. You can also download the Women Radio app, WFM 917, on Google Play Store and on iOS as well. I still have with me Chioma Osakwe, Program Officer, Hacey Health Initiative. And we're still discussing 16 Days of Activism on Violence Against Women. Now, Chioma, I'm bringing it down to Hacey Health Initiative specifically now. What measures has your organization put in place to support the fight against ending violence against women?
Okay, so Hacey, we're heavily focused on, improving the health and productivity of women and girls around the world, and that, also means ensuring that they are safe and protected from any form of violence. So we're currently running the Stop Cut project, which is an End Female Genital Mutilation project. For those of us who might not be familiar with the term, it's basically female genital mutilation. It's basically the partial or total removal of female genitalia for non-medical reasons. Right, so we're currently implementing that project in Ekiti State, Osun State, and Oyo State. These are the states with the highest prevalence of female genital mutilations. And so far, we've been able to, promote the effective implementation of laws and policies that protect women and girls from female genital mutilation. We've also been able to engage community members because we find out that female genital mutilation is, how will I say, is being justified. So they say it's a rite of passage. It's how women, go from being girls to women. It's a tradition. We go to some communities and they defend it with everything they've got. They say it was passed down from generation to generation. But the fact that, you say it's traditional doesn't mean it's not criminal. Doesn't mean it doesn't violate the rights of women.
I like that line. The fact that you say it's traditional does not mean it's not criminal.
Yes, doesn't mean it doesn't have, impact on the lives of these girls. So we try to have that conversation with community members. We've also keep advocating for the abandonment of female genital mutilations. We work with a wide range of stakeholders, the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Justice, community leaders. We have the media, law enforcement agencies, really. So we have that partnership with, these certain stakeholders to ensure that, we raise awareness on FGM, not just raising awareness, we're able to, because it's one thing to raise awareness. I think sometimes the hardest things to fight are practices that are rooted in culture and tradition, right? So we try to go down to these levels and, sort of explain what this is, help them understand what female genital mutilation actually does. And apart from the Stop God project, we also, try to raise awareness on other forms of gender-based violence, sexual violence, domestic violence, and also build the capacity of men and boys, as allies. Gender-based violence is not a female fight, it's not a women's fight.
I really like that you mentioned that. I really like that you mentioned that. We had a guest speak yesterday as well, and for the first time in a really long time, people always mention that it's not female only, but they also always mention that because more often than not, more girls and women are the brunt of gender-based violence. So that's why they like to focus their efforts on that. So I'm glad again that today we're having another person in the program who is highlighting that they need to also focus on men and boys.
Yes. Definitely. So those are some of the things we do to protect or fight or advocate for the end of gender-based violence.
I really appreciate your organization and all their efforts so far, because honestly, there's a lot of strides that have been made, but there's also a lot of work that needs to be done.
Exactly.
So still talking about that, looking at the rate of awareness, which your organization strives every day to add more, to increase that level of awareness, would you say that people are beginning to end the culture of silence by speaking out? Would you say they're speaking out enough? And would you say that speaking out translates to breaking that culture of silence?
So you agree with me that in recent times there's been, more people come out to stand against gender-based violence. We have more conversations. We've been mainstreaming conversation on gender-based violence. People are more open to have these discussions. So it's not just backdoor meetings anymore. People are coming, forefront and raising their voices against these issues. But then again, there's still a lot of cases that are unreported. There's still a lot of, some of these stories that we don't hear about. We're still fighting the factors that sort of hinder reporting. We're talking about cultural and traditional norms. People still treating gender-based violence like it's a family issue. So if you have cases of domestic violence or sexual-based violence, maybe in cases of incest, and you see the family member say, no, please, that's a family matter, cover our shame. We've gone beyond that. It's no longer a family issue, right? It's more than that. So issues like that, we have, the law enforcement and how, the stigmatization that comes not just from the general public, but from enforcement. So you have people go to report cases and then the way they're treated, they won't go back there anymore, right? Are we talking of implementation of persecution of perpetrators? We have these laws. How many have we seen persecuted? I know that, this is currently ongoing. There are being persecutions, but is it enough for a survivor to come out and say, okay, yes? Do you understand what I'm saying? So I know that yes, we are beginning to raise our voice. We're having this conversation, and that's great. But still, we still need to tackle some of these issues that still hinder, survivors from speaking out and having these conversations. Factors that intimidate them, that silence them, that shut them up. We still need to sort of tackle this issue if we want to have the future that we desire. If we want to truly end gender-based violence, we have to start with those roots culture that prevents women from speaking up.
Thank you so much. Thank you for highlighting all these very important points. And this culture of silence is something that should be broken, must be broken, because that's the only way that we can really make impact. Because it's from speaking out that at least some people stand to get help, some people get justice. Every day it's better than the previous day because the culture of silence is continually being broken.
Exactly.
So thank you so much for that. It is 16 minutes past 12 on Women Radio 91.7, and this is the second episode in the series of 16 Days of Activism on Violence Against Women. In case you're wondering what this is about, the 16 Days of Activism Against Gender-Based Violence is an annual international campaign that began yesterday, Friday, 25th November, and runs all the way through to 10th December. And for each of those days, we'll be running a 16-day series on 16 Days of Activism Against Gender-Based Violence. And we're basically lending our voice and, of course, getting the perspectives of organizations who are active in this space to share their strategies and the strategies in the prevention and elimination of violence against women and girls. So this is definitely for your enlightenment. And this is also so that you can take advantage of these organizations and their services so that you can know where to go if the need arises. My name is Titilayo Ajama, and my guest today is Chioma Osakwe, Program Officer, Hacey Health Initiatives. We're still speaking on 16 Days of Activism on Violence Against Women. The number to call is 07000 917 917. 07000 917 917. Go ahead and send in a text message or a WhatsApp message to 0703 175 6537. Now, let's know if you have any thoughts, if you have any contributions. The number again to call is 07000 917 917. Also, you can send a text message or a WhatsApp message to 0703 175 6537. All right, coming back to Hacey Health Initiative, Chioma, there's a lot they've done, and you would agree with me that there's a lot that needs to be done as well. So what are some of the plans currently being made for the future in order to advance the fight against gender-based violence by Hacey Health Initiative?
Okay, so we can't have enough of these conversations, right? So as an organization, we'll continue to create more awareness, leveraging on any platform that we can find offline and online to have these conversations, going into communities to sensitize them on what these issues are, the forms of gender-based violence, how it affects everyone. We'll continue to do this until every last person, has an understanding of what these issues are. We're also going to continue to advocate for the implementation of laws and policies that protect women and girls. We have the VAP Act, right? Mm-hmm. It's one of the most progressive laws we have now. But not all states have, are currently implementing it. Okay, so that leaves us at a disadvantage. So we'll continue to advocate for the implementation of these laws in all the 36 states. Also strengthening support systems, because there's one thing for survivors to come out and speak up on what their issue or what their story is. It's another thing for us to be able to properly provide support for them. We see that, sometimes survivors are not necessarily given the support that they really need. And that's essential, to their healing process. We understand that gender-based violence can have dire consequences.
That's right.
The sexual and reproductive health of women and girls, their economic empowerment, their ability to participate meaningfully in society, their mental health even. So, providing support services, medical support, psychosocial support, economic empowerment, just basically integrating them back into society and making them, contribute meaningfully to society's growth.
That's
and
right.
Also, like I said, engaging men and boys. We can't leave them out of these conversations. We know that gender-based violence, not necessarily, predominantly affects women, but also boys as well. And we know that according to statistics, perpetrators are mostly male. So we can't leave them out of this conversation. They are the core of these conversations, bringing them into these conversations, having them as key stakeholders, getting their input, educating them, engaging young boys in secondary schools, primary school, teaching them equitable gender practices, how to relate, with girls, teaching them what's right, impacting the right knowledge to them at a very young age, so that when they're much older, we're not having a repeat of what we're seeing currently. Just basic. Just all of that sensitization, and also girls, teaching them what they should do, how prevention, response, reporting, all of that. So as an organization, we'll continue to do our bit to make sure that we end gender-based violence and also provide support for survivors as well.
Absolutely. So you do agree that there is a lot more work that needs to be done?
Definitely.
All right.
Definitely.
Sounds good. 22 minutes past 12, and this is still the second episode of 16 Days of Activism on Violence Against Women. Chioma, let me ask you this. In the hopes of doing better when it comes to advocacy against gender-based violence, are there stakeholders, are there people that you intend to work with so that they can use their own area of expertise to pass the message and continue the advocacy?
Definitely. So this whole journey or this work isn't one man. We can't work in silos. It's a partnership. If we want to move faster, if we want to move forward, we have to all come together. So definitely the stakeholders will be engaging, or we even engage with currently civil society organizations that are doing great work, private sector, that are coming on board this discussion and want to contribute their expertise, their technical expertise, fund some of these activities. We have the media. We know we can't even underestimate the role the media plays in disseminating information regarding gender-based violence and sort of shaping people's mind and opinion. So the media definitely is a critical stakeholder. The government, even down to community leaders, traditional leaders, all of these stakeholders, we're closely working with them to make sure that every one of them leveraging on their expertise as well, their platform to amplify the voices of survivors, to increase knowledge on gender-based violence, and also mentoring these conversations, get the right policies and laws in place, see that survivors get the support that they need, that all forms, even in all nooks and crannies of communities, this message are passed, and everybody has a better understanding of what the channels are: prevention, reporting, response. Everybody at every point in time knows what to do. Everybody understands consent, right? How to ask for consent, how to seek consent. Have those messages passed across, leveraging on the platforms and funding and technical expertise of all these stakeholders. So definitely, we'll be working with a lot of stakeholders to make this work.
Absolutely. Because how's that saying? There's a saying that says, together, the dream works.
Definitely.
Something along those lines.
we can't do it alone. Yeah.
Absolutely.
We can't do it alone.
But in the stride, or in the strive. Anyway, on the journey, Chioma, please don't laugh at me. On the journey to making this progress, there must have been challenges that you'd have experienced as an organization. So what are some of those challenges that has hindered this advocacy, or that may have hindered this advocacy at some point?
I could speak on the challenges the entire day. It's not only draining, but it can be frustrating at times. I think one would be traditional and religious practices. As a country or as a nation, we're very religious people. So we find that cultural and traditional people as well. So we find that people hold on to certain beliefs, right? I'm not against holding on to beliefs. We all believe some sort of something, right? They hold on to certain beliefs. I'll give you an instance, the female genital mutilation, and I think I mentioned it earlier, where you go to communities and you have people defend. Like, if you're not careful, they might win you over to their side. They defend this with everything they have got. You know, they are telling you, giving you stories of, oh, this is how it is, this is how it is, and your mothers of these children. I'm explaining to you, this is what the issues are. We have survivors that are telling their stories. We have them saying this is what happened to them. You know, some of them are not even able to give birth anymore. Some of them don't even, you know, things like that. And you still have them vehemently refuse to say that my child will still go through premature genital mutilation. That's what has been, and that's what will continue to be. Some of these things are draining. They're tasking. It can be very stressful. Or you have, institutions where you go to and then it's a different conversation altogether. Are we talking about lack of, the implementation of policies? You have people speak to people and say, oh, share your story, report. And they say they're not reporting. The ones that have reported, what has happened to them.
What has been done about it.
Exactly. So what do you want to tell someone like that? But if we saw on a day-to-day, you're seeing people persecuted for their crimes, it gives you, morale and ginger to want to say, speak up. And with all your entire chest, speak up. And this was what's going to happen. But when you don't have things like that, you sometimes don't even know what to even say. We just we'll continue to push for this. There are challenges we face, but at the end of the day, what we have our goal in mind is that we must end gender-based violence, whether it likes it or it doesn't like it. Do you understand? So we have to continue pushing through all of these challenges. We have to keep pushing.
I admire the zeal. I admire the determination, because truthfully, it's that zeal and determination that gets people out of the chokehold of the culture of silence. It's this zeal and determination that keeps people going, knowing that there's light at the end of the tunnel. So thank you very much. So for specific understanding of what Hacey Health Initiative does, let's be specific about sharing the kind of support that your organization provides for survivors. So simply outline the kind of support that your organization provides for survivors.
Okay, so when survivors, gender-based violence, any form of gender-based violence works through our doors, what we try to do is have them understand what's going on, because sometimes most of them don't even understand what's happening or what has happened. Sit with them, have a conversation. We have an in-house mental health consultant, link them up with the mental health specialist, have a conversation with them. We also work with support services and have them linked to the support services. That's why I always say we can't work alone, or we can't do it alone. So when people walk through our doors, we should be able to have people we work with that we can pass them or refer them to. There are lots of processes that goes into this. So, for instance, someone has just been sexually assaulted. The first thing to do, depending on the severity of the case, is that to go to the hospital, get the individual checked, and also collect evidence, right? And from there, go to the police to report. So when they're coming through our doors, we have them speak with a mental health consultant just to help them understand what's going on, and then we refer them to support services, so medical services, further psychosocial support services, and then legal services that can take up their cases. So that's sort of the flow of how we go. And then afterwards, we can then help them sit back and then find ways to integrate them back to society. So that at no point do we leave them alone. We try to provide like a wholesome and holistic support for survivors. And also workings, like I said, we don't do it alone. We work with a host of support centers that make all of this very possible.
All right. And finally, Chioma, it goes without saying that publicity is important for your organization, but beyond that, it's a way, we're doing this as a way of sensitizing people about the 16 Days of Activism and about advocacy against gender-based violence in and of itself. So as an organization, as Hacey Health Initiative, is there any call to action or commitment that you'd like to make on behalf of your organization?
Okay, so Hacey Health Initiative, we like to say that and emphasize that gender-based violence is not a female fight. It's everyone's fight. We all have sisters and brothers, and family friends and mothers, and family members, and anyone at any time. It could be a victim. It's not even a God forbid situation, but we don't plan it. But sometimes people find themselves in very, very terrible situations. So we're calling on everyone, everybody to lend their voices. We are louder when we are shouting together. We are more powerful when we are all standing together. We are unstoppable when we are all speaking in the same language. So it's everybody, calling on everyone to join the fight to end gender-based violence. It's very possible. I believe it's doable. If we all can work together in sync, leveraging on each other's resources. No one is an island. Sharing our knowledge, our best practices, our challenges, sharing all of the information we need to share, and coming together to make this happen. Like, we can't do it alone. It requires teamwork, team effort, and collaboration.
Absolutely. And I'm glad that there are a number of organizations, a number of places that are collaborating with you to make this happen.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much, Chioma. I must say it has been an interesting conversation, and thank you very much for taking time out to share the journey of Hacey Health Initiative and, of course, your commitment to the cause of advocacy against gender-based violence.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Yes. Please enjoy the rest of your day, Chioma.
You too. Thank you.
All right. Without wasting any other time or any more time, it is important to note that violence against women and girls is a human rights violation. So if this is happening to you, Hacey Health Initiative is one of the organizations that you can reach out to, and you will get the help that you need. To a large extent, the immediate long-term physical, sexual, and mental consequences for women and girls when they encounter gender-based violence can be very devastating, at times it's so extreme that it includes death. This violence negatively affects their general well-being, and it prevents women from fully participating in society. So if you notice any form of abuse, speaking out is so important. Report to the relevant authorities or relevant organizations, and let us unite and be deliberate in eliminating violence against women and girls. Thank you so much for joining us today. Special thanks to my guest, Chioma Osakwe, Program Officer, Hacey Health Initiative, and to you, of course, for being a part of the program today. Thank you very much to the producer, Elizabeth Akwerigbe. It is so important that we continue these conversations and we keep speaking about gender-based violence, and we continue advocacy and talking to people about this so that they can understand the truth about things, which is that nobody should be in this case, nobody should be caught up in this situation. And if you find any case like this, again, see something, say something. Thank you very much for tuning in. My name is Sumto Titilayo Ajama.